Chapter 49. The Law of Inheritance. Numbers 27, 1 to 11. Then came the daughters of Salafahad, the son of Hefer, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of Manasseh, the son of Joseph. And these are the names of his daughters: Mahlah, Noah, and Hoglah, and Milcah, and Tirzah. And they stood before Moses and before Eleazar the priest, and before the princes and all the congregation by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, and he was not in the company of them that gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, but died in his own sin, and had no sons. Why should the name of our father be done away from among his family, because he hath no son? Give unto us therefore a possession among the brethren of our father. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, The daughters of Salafahad speak right. Thou shalt surely give them a possession of an inheritance among their father's brethren, and thou shalt cause the inheritance of their father to pass unto them. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a man die and have no son, then ye shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter. And if he have no daughter, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his brethren. And if he have no brethren, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his father's brethren. And if his father have no brethren, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his kinsman that is next to him in his family, and he shall possess it. And it shall be unto the children of Israel a statute of judgment, as the Lord commanded Moses. Numbers 27, 1 to 11. The Bible is a land-based and property-oriented religion. As a result, the laws of inheritance are very important in the Bible. The interference of the state into inheritance by controls and taxes is anti-Christian. The premise that the earth is the Lord's is basic to the Bible and its law. We meet with it in Exodus 9:29. It is the reason why God moved against Pharaoh. It is basic to God's law, as we see in Deuteronomy 10:14. Psalm 24:1 celebrates it. Because the earth is the Lord's, he governs the laws of inheritance. Historically, the oldest son has been the heir. In England, although never made a law, the English nobility have followed this practice rigidly, often to their detriment. This rule made some sense in earlier centuries when the vocation of the nobility and of kings was battle, and as a result, they had the lowest and shortest life expectancy of any group in Europe. A nobleman married very early in order to produce an heir to fight to retain the family's realm. In the Bible, however, we see a different standard. First, the order of inheritance is the order of faith and character. Abraham's heir was not Ishmael but Isaac. Isaac's heir was not Esau but Jacob. Jacob's heir was not Reuben but Judah, his fourthborn. The godly seed was favoured then, and in godly eras since then, in order to capitalize Christ's kingdom, his people. To capitalize an ungodly son, or a godly but foolish son, was and is to do harm to the future under God. As a result, the law of inheritance is important to the Bible. Second, we must think beyond the immediate. We are told, A good man leaveth inheritance to his children's children. Proverbs 13:22. Short-term thinking is regarded as ungodly. God's kingdom extends throughout all of history and into eternity. We cannot limit our thinking and planning to our lifetime. God, who created time and this world, requires us to live in time and in the realities of the world. It's ungodly to be a striver for a spirituality which is unrelated to this world. Third, the Bible affords a special protection and security to women in a godly society. Apart from this law of inheritance, a woman had another major financial security, the dowry. The dowry of virgins is cited in Exodus 22, 16 and 17. If a man seduced a virgin, he was required by law to pay her a full dowry, whether or not her father accepted him as a husband to his daughter. This dowry was not specified, but it was normally equivalent to 3 years' wages. Because Jacob was taking Rachel far from her father's close protection, he specified a dowry of 7 years' wages. Genesis 29:18. This dowry was her protection money against abuse or desertion, and an inheritance for her children. This dowry system ensured the wife's security and the stability of the family. A man did not readily wrong a wife who held so much family capital, 3 years' wages normally, in gold or silver. Fourth, the clear implication of biblical law and practice was that faith and character took priority over sex on occasion. In Joshua 15, 16-19, and Judges 1, 12-15, we see that Caleb not only made his daughter Akash his main heir, but also granted her even more when she requested it. Caleb obviously saw more strength of faith and character in his daughter than in any male in his family. Very clearly, the position of a daughter was a strong one. Because the family is God's basic institution on earth, the woman is given particular protection. The patriarchal character of the biblical family was only possible because of the moral requirements imposed on men and the protection and security given to godly women. The term dowry survived in American law as the right of a widow in respect of the property of her deceased husband. In fact, according to Clark. But though the law contemplated that the property of a dead husband and father should go to his sons, or to his daughters or brethren or kinsmen, it may not be supposed that his widow was to be neglected or sent away empty. To the contrary, it seems that she always had a right of dower, that the property was chargeable for her sustenance and the rearing and education of the young children, if there were any, and that she was entitled to a house in which to live. Even under ancient Babylonian law, long before the time of Abraham, a wife was entitled to receive her dowry and either a gift from her husband or the portion of a son, and also to dwell in the house of her husband as long as she lived. Dower has likewise been an institution of the English law since early Anglo-Saxon times, and of American as well. Indeed, it has been said of this right that it is as widespread as the Christian religion and enters into the contract of marriage among all Christians. This was written before the end of World War II. The law since has not been improved. In early America, the absence of a property tax made a woman's status very secure. Now the widow faces internal revenue taxes, state taxes, death taxes, and more. Fifth, it is especially important to note that Moses looked to God for a revelation, verse 5, and received it. The matter of inheritance was too important for Moses to act on inferences or personal opinions. The central institution, the family, was at stake. The family and its future could be entrusted to a woman, a daughter. I have heard of instances prior to World War I where such situations meant that the daughter, on marrying, bore her father's name. In many instances, especially if her husband came from a good family, the two surnames were both used and hyphenated, as for example, Smith-Williams. For other reasons as well, this practice is still common in England. The idea was that neither family line was allowed to die out. Sixth, the daughters did not make undue claims about their father. He had not joined Korah and other leaders in their hostility to the Lord and Moses, but died in his own sin. This apparently had reference to Salafahad's support of the false spies, Numbers 13-14, 26, 64 and 65. There could be disinheritance for some sins such as blasphemy. Centuries later, Jezebel used such a fraudulent charge to seize Naboth's vineyard and disinherit his line, in return for which God cut off Ahab's family. 1 Kings 21, 7 following. Nebuchadnezzar, on seeing God's vindication of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, issued an order decreeing the end of any family guilty of blasphemy against their God. Daniel 3:29. The God of the Hebrews. Seventh, by confirming the daughters in their inheritance, God made it clear that he was concerned with families, not merely the heads of families. In verse 11, it is plainly stated that this decision is henceforth a part of God's law. Eighth, nothing in this law of inheritance sets aside a woman's dowry right. This is an important fact. Feminism attacks the Bible because it makes clear man's headship in the family, but it refuses to acknowledge the protection given to women. Here, an heiress receiving title to her father's estate, or, by implication, the double portion as against a foolish son, receives also a dowry from her husband and is thus further enriched and protected. Then, ninth, it is the father's name which is perpetuated, although the woman or women become heir to the estate. Verse 9. No amount of wealth accumulating to the wife can be used to erase the fact that the family name is derived from the man. 10th. What was at stake was title to a portion of land. The Bible is a land-based book. It sees the family and land as basic to godly order. The modern state works against God by legislating against the family and its land by taxes and controls. 11th. An order of inheritance is laid down in verses 9 to 11. 1. Sons and their descendants. 2. Daughters and their descendants. 3. The brothers of the father. And 4. The kinsman next in line in the father's family. As in the law of the Levites, the name of the deceased man was assumed. Deuteronomy 25, 5-6. 12. Calvin called attention to the fact that the daughters of Salafahad pleaded for their own private advantage, but by this no means made their pleading wrong. It's an error to assume that private advantage means public wrong. They were looking forward to the fulfillment of God's promises, and they acted in faith. Then, 13th, we find an interesting application of this law in the Book of Ruth. The property at stake belonged to Elimelech, Naomi's husband. Naomi was not of Elimelech's bloodline, nor was Ruth her daughter-in-law. All the same, the property, when redeemed, went to Naomi and to Ruth, who was not even a Hebrew. This is an amazing fact. It tells us the degree to which marriage in God's sight makes a couple one flesh. Elimelech's property right was Naomi's, and the son Chilion's property right became Ruth's. 14th. We come to another startling fact, best summed up by N.H. Snaith. Normally, the heir receives two portions, Deuteronomy 21:17. But here the 5 daughters are represented as all being heirs, and so we get the 5 daughters receiving 10 portions. From a strict point of view, this makes little sense, but it makes no sense at all any other way. Each daughter would be treated as the main heir in the division of Canaan. In Numbers 36, we again meet with the daughters of Salafahad. The issue is a different one, as we shall see, namely, how the family is reckoned if a woman heiress marries outside of her clan. What is clear is that patriarchal society, because it was family-centered, gave better status and treatment to women than any other culture. The feminist rage against patriarchy is both ignorance and wrong. Patriarchy requires strong men and strong women. Modern culture produces neither.